Hi, my name is Leanne Shawler. I'm a writer and an artist, and today we're dealing with story questions. These are the overarching questions, loose plot threads that got dropped and if it picks back up again, stuff that might actually change the course of a subplot or three, and that kind of thing. Today, I'm going through the manuscript and taking care of all of that. So I'm about halfway through making up the edits. Do I have it here? I don't have it here. So I'm marking up the edits in the printed out manuscript for the changes I need to make. There are quite a few changes. There are quite a few story questions that also need resolving. And one of them that has come up involves me having started with this older manuscript that was actually the core idea for this whole series. Lots of strange things happened in that first chapter, which is now, I think, chapter 4 or 5 of this final serial. I don't know what I was planning to do with all those strange things, but I continued not to do anything with them, I've realised. So I either have to write out some of that old stuff, which is spooky and surreal and kind of fun, or answer those story questions. I think I can do a bit of both. But yeah, it's beginning to look like that once I've done these big edits, I'm going to have to resolve all these story questions, resolve them in the text, and then go through and do all the other edits, I think. Anyway, that's how it's going. It's Thursday. I'm going to go back and do some more of that right now, marking up the text, and we'll see if we get done with the marking up by the end of this week. And if we do, I can tell you so and sign off on this vlog. I have finished all the edits, most of which says more. More here. Getting's not too bad, actually. More and more gets written on as I get further in. A lot of passive tense to clear up. And I've just done my planning for next year, which is probably going to air before this one, actually. So it's still relevant in January. I don't have a whole lot of time to make all these edits. I have to answer all the story questions that have come up that do not seem to have been answered by what I have written. I have quite a few. I have 19 story questions. The first is Lunid/Josie, who I've been talking about all the way through. I noticed that her gifts get out of control, and then I just dropped that ball. So I need to figure out if those gifts will get out of control or if we just delete that. There is an early part of the story that I first wrote where the hero disguises himself as a boy, like a glamoring, if you will. I don't understand why in this current version our character would do that. So I need to answer that question. There's also a reusing of a name that I didn't, for some reason, connect between the glamoured boy and the pseudonym? Alias? The alias that our hero uses, and wouldn't she connect that straight away, even if I didn't? And so I need to figure that out. Made a decision about the window situation on board the ship. So major spoiler question. Did one of the characters do it, or did the bad guy do it? And if the bad guy did it, how did he know that it worked? Because he doesn't have access to the bond. There is romance that Lunid's involved with at the beginning of the book. Is it a romance? Or is it a crush? How far has that gone? Because there's a fairly quick change from previous guy to new guy. But yeah, I'm not sure. It would mean deleting a few scenes as well, and making it a bit sweeter as a result, which is also good. There is some bonding issues that I've sort of like neglected to have that transference of feelings and emotions between the characters and the members of the chosen court. In the early version of the story, there was a strange ship that sank. The ship that Lunid's ship, was that too many ships? That they rescued some sailors, and the ship that the sailors were on was sunk by a very strange ship, and I never picked that up. So I think I'm just going to have to delete that one because I can't figure out a follow through that makes sense. There's a little continuity about our bad guy limping. I've noticed that a good number of my characters, male characters, have limps. Should we get into the psychology of that? Is there a missing scene? Or if there's not a missing scene, how do I explain that it never happened? Another one of Lunid's gifts that didn't sort of like follow through, but that's one I think I am going to follow through on. There is another story about Lunid's crew coming to rescue to a plague ship, but I think I might have to redate it to fit the new timeline. I also need to wrap up that story, just kind of ends abruptly. For Lunid's lover/crush, how I dress him versus last name versus first name. I can't explain this next question without giving away too many spoilers, but it involves dates and what people are actually up to in various places. Maybe he's just not around. Just, because he's a busy guy. There's a story question, how an unconscious character ended up somewhere without anybody else on scene noticing that that's where he ended up. Another date check as to whether the bad guy was at London at the correct time or whether I need to adjust that. I hope not. The bad guy had some plans for some people that I never actually explained. He takes two unconscious characters and just instead of doing the normal bad guy thing of like either leaving them to die or killing them properly, he takes them along. I have this reference that it's like he's bringing half-dead mice to his lover. Which I love that line and worth keeping for that alone, but he needs a plan. I think for one of the characters, he can definitely do it, but the second one may also, if they are left behind, will help with an extra day that I have left hanging, because I want things to end on the 11th of April, and I have an extra day that I haven't not taken care of, but now they can take care of this other character who's badly injured, theoretically. At the very last words to the story are resolving a secondary romance, neither Ida Thea's romantic story, which has continued in a different vein, or the other romance story. So someone else, I think, needs to have the last word. So there may be one more scene I need to write. And those are all my story questions. Some of which I've answered, and some of which I now need to figure out. It is another hot day. I am sweating something fierce already. I did some writing discovery regarding one of the story questions, and guess what's getting a rewrite? Yeah, so it's not going to be a big rewrite. I think it's just going to fudge some things. My hero wasn't as heroic with that decision as he should have been, and it was back when that particular character in the original draft was an antagonist, not a protagonist. So different motivations completely. So I have come up with a rewrite. It means cutting some stuff, but hey, we're already at 100,000 words anyway, so it's all good. So now I just need to go through and mark up where those changes need to be made and go from there. I am wondering if it is still going to cast doubt on Lunid's abilities, however. Maybe she can just blab it out without thinking. Yeah, that'll work. And then consequences. It's bloody hot. I'm now going to, as it's Sunday, stop for the day. I will mark up the manuscript tomorrow when it's supposed to be a smidge cooler. Or actually still do it now. I might actually go do it now, but in an air-conditioned room. So I'm going to like mark up the manuscript in the places that I know that are now going to need to be changed. I'm going to grab a bright mild liner for that. So at least when I get to that point in the manuscript, I'm like, oh, I need to change this. And I'm fairly certain that once I still have doubt cast on Luna's abilities, it's not going to matter how that doubt is cast. But, you know, our hero can't help that he's Dregai Moore. Didn't expect to be seen, perhaps. Ooh, did not expect to be seen. Writing that down. Writing that down. Doop. But she saw through it. Does she? Well, that's also a gift that Jasper has. She's a girl of many gifts. She's the final member of the Chosen Court after all, so she's got to be a bit special, right? I'll go into the cool, mark up the manuscript again. And then this week we will start on edits, and I'm going to keep track of that in some way. Not exactly sure how. I might just find a downloadable chapter tracker, scene tracker, and figure out how many scenes I have and block them out. So you've got a visual, if nothing else. All right, I think I've wrapped up the video already. Yeah, pretty sure I have. So past me can wrap this up, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for watching. This is a fairly short video. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button. If you got to the end of this video, put in a pen or a pencil for editing purposes, and let me know what you're doing in the comments with your writing and or reading and or whichever. You can read this series, which is a Regency set fantasy romance set in southwest Wales, where our heroine searches for Arthurian treasures to stop the world from ecological collapse, and there are bunches of shape-shifting sea dragons. Say that 10 times fast. Shape-shifting sea dragons. You can read it for free at projectstarfish.substack.com, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.